Welcome to the Heartbit podcast, where we delve into the heart of Bitcoin and uncover the sweet spot for enthusiasts worldwide. I'm Dani, your fellow Bitcoin explorer, and today we are going to be joined by the founder of Love is Bitcoin, George Saulides, to talk a little bit about the industry. Hello, George. How are you?
Hi, Dani. I'm great. I'm great. Feeling great to be here.
Thank you for joining us. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your motivation behind creating Love is Bitcoin?
Oh, right into the heavy stuff. Okay. My motivation for building this. Well, it kind of happened, to be honest, but I think it was something that I really wanted to do. I feel like we needed like a pop culture way to explain Bitcoin, to attract, new people, to bring pre-coiners, basically. We call them normies. That's a little bit of a bad word. But let's call them pre-coiners because everybody's going to eventually use Bitcoin, even if they want to or not. And if we want to talk about a little bit of the future, I'm a firm believer that people will use Bitcoin and they will have no idea that they're using it in further implementations of it. We can go into detail with that. But I believe that the way to approach a lot of people is to make it mainstream, but not mainstream in the way where, people cringe when they hear that word. But you can go mainstream by having the right message. Yeah.
Yes, that's interesting what you were saying because instead of mainstream, like the popular culture or pop culture, which is attractive and interesting looking and like it calls your attention, can be a more like catching way of approaching it than saying mainstream.
Yes. I guess it's a better word. So the motivation is basically, I feel like even though I'm a computer scientist myself, I teach Bitcoin workshops and I explain stuff all the time. You don't always have 3 hours of dedicated students and a captive audience to explain to them what is Bitcoin, what is the blockchain, and what is a wallet, and how to use a wallet, and how to do an on-chain transaction. So sometimes you have to go a little bit more meme style. You have to explain things in TikToks and Instagram Shorts and all these things, and at least grab their attention, point them towards the right way, like self-custody, like hardware wallets and stuff like that. And then once they figure out some things, they might ask like the important questions of how do I do this exactly? And then you point them to a tutorial like the ones that we're building together here in Heartbeat.
So it sounds like you have a lot of experience, like being in touch with pre-coiners. What do you think has been the most successful way to onboard people, or what is the most successful approach to entice people to become a Bitcoiner?
Well, ironically, it's the number go up technology. Okay, it's okay to admit that greed is what brings usually people into Bitcoin, or need, greed or need. I should actually keep that for an article because that was a good term that I just coined up. Well, people need Bitcoin sometimes. For example, when we had the bank crisis in Athens, in Greece, not just Athens, where the banking sector just completely froze everything and they were letting us withdraw only 50 euros per day and stuff like that. The entire economic system basically froze. And these people who remember that situation in Greece, they're very easy to talk to and explain to them about the unconfiscatable nature of Bitcoin. Thankfully, we do have a lot of Greeks who still remember that. Ironically, most of them end up being shitcoiners basically because they go for the gambling side and they want these immediate gains and stuff like that. But a small percentage does end up understanding that we need to have an alternative, an escape hatch to the banking system. So yes, I think we would summarize it as that. You either have greed or need, and greed is fine. Greed is good, like the guy on Wall Street, the movie says. because a lot of people came here for the Lambos, like we said, and ended up changing their lives completely. They got orange pilled, they changed their time preference, and suddenly they want to build stuff and create amazing things and start a family, and they don't even care about the Lambo anymore, even if they can afford it. It's a weird phenomenon that we're seeing evolve right before our eyes.
Yes, I remember the meme that was something like, you come for the Lambo, but you stay for the technology. But I liked how you put it because you said it more like you come for the Lambo, but stay for the culture, which is a different like take on it that I do appreciate. I think Bitcoin culture has very strong fundamentals, and like the low time preference has taught me a lot about my own lifestyle and how to approach life.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and all of us, all of us. I consider it a culture shock. I've written it in articles. It is a culture shock. When you get orange pilled, you basically get out of the matrix. Okay. And the matrix is an even older meme, you could say. It's Plato's cave. Okay. It's this theoretical
Mhm,
concept of philosophical concept where people are just trapped in a cave and all they can see are shadows on a wall. And they
mhm,
think that is the entirety of existence around them. And when someone escapes that cave and goes up into the light and tells them, no, there are colors, there are stuff more than the shadows and the projections and this dark cave that we live in, they are opposed to it. And that's what happens with the Matrix. That's why it's such a powerful allegory. And that's why we use the Matrix allegory in the orange pilling. Take the blue pill, take the red pill, we have take the orange pill, and it works perfectly. Um, so that's what happens when you tell people that everything is a lie, everything is fake, the money is fake, the food is fake, the whole system is meant to destroy you and not to help build you up. There is a resistance to it, and you end up having a culture shock basically, and that's what we have experienced. Pretty much all the people who have been orange pilled, they have some sort of similar story, and when we meet up, we have this common trauma basically of being surrounded by craziness. And that's why it's so amazing to meet Bitcoiners in person, for example, or at least on the internet, because you feel like at least somebody feels like the same way that you are. You're not crazy. There are a bunch of other crazy people, and there are thousands of them, and they see the same things that you see, that there's a lot of corruption everywhere.
So when we started, I did kind of push you into the deep end, but I'm kind of glad because now I want to like regress to like a more simple question, but in the
Okay.
context of what we're talking about. Like, how does love it, what is love is Bitcoin? What does love is Bitcoin do? And how does it embrace that Bitcoin culture in the activities?
Okay, well, it's kind of weird. I haven't defined it yet, so maybe I'll manage to define it on the fly. I would call it a non-person influencer brand for Bitcoin, which is a way of saying it's not just one person. Okay, we have Libby, we have Florencia, for example, who is right now the face of Libby. We're also getting a Greek Libby, which is my business partner. She will hopefully come on the show as well and get interviewed. And we're also getting a couple more Libbies, so it's kind of getting convoluted. But the point is that we're not just sticking to one person, we're not just sticking to one face. The point is to have whoever is available or whoever wants to contribute to the message that we're trying to portray. And the point is to give them a platform and to use this brand basically, let's say for good, let's say for orange pilling, let's say for Bitcoin adoption, and with the utmost goal of hyper Bitcoinization, which realistically I don't think we'll ever get. By the way, even though I'm an optimist, I don't think that we'll get hyper Bitcoinization the way we're discussing about it. But I think we should strive for it. I think we should strive for it, even failing very short of getting towards Bitcoinization, hyper Bitcoinization. It will be a massive improvement of what we have right now. So what is the love is Bitcoin? Well, it's a weird sort of quirky meme culture brand, which is its whole purpose is to spread Bitcoin, make it popular, make it pop, something like that, and use all these channels, the memes, the videos, because video is a very powerful tool to portray your message and get the point across. People watch thousands of videos, I don't know, per week, per day. Now with TikTok and all these short videos, their attention spans have been shattered. So we're using these tools, basically these propaganda tools for good, because that's what marketing is. Marketing is just propaganda. I'm a marketer as well. And I know that hammering the same message again and again and again with different ways is basically using the propaganda materials that have developed over the years. And if you use them for good, if you tell people you need to get not your keys, not your coins, and other memes like that, eventually they go through their brains and they say, okay, maybe I should buy that hardware wallet that Libby keeps telling me to buy. And they go in and they buy their first wallet and they figure out how to use it, hopefully watch a video with Dani on how to plug it in and how to actually use it. And then they have self-custody. And from that point on, they can do whatever they want with their money. Okay, we're not going to tell them what they want to do with their money. But the point is so that when they get wrecked, when they get rug pulled, when they get that shitcoin going down to zero or something like that, they will have the tools available and they will say, okay, it clicked now. I know what to do. I have the tools. I have the knowledge. Finally, I will withdraw some sats into my cold storage and hold them, and nobody can confiscate them. And that's the ideal goal, hopefully.
I like something that you said at the beginning, because in Bitcoin we have that saying, we are all Satoshi, but at Love is Bitcoin, we are all Libby.
Yeah, kind of like that. Kind of like that. We're starting to use that meme as well, yeah, especially now that Libby has become this multi-person like character. And yeah, okay, well, Libby is kind of having fun in Bitcoin land in like a rosy or orange tinted glasses instead of rose colored glasses. That's why we use visuals that are very warm and bright and nice. We tend to have that color palette, you could say. So it's all very meticulous. I'm using a lot of techniques for all these things, and it's funny because there are people commenting on Libby's posts and saying, yes, this brainwashing is starting to work on me. So yeah, we are getting the point across. It's happening. It's good.
So how do you, like, you're influencing people, but you're influencing them for good. So how do you choose what subjects you're going to present to your audience?
Okay, the tools. Well, it is a mix. Let's say, for example, we want to point towards. Let's talk about hardware wallets because it's the easiest example to talk about. Obviously, we want to send people towards something that is open source, something that has a Bitcoin only option, so that they can avoid the shitcoin casino basically, and that spam, that normalization of seeing, for example, the Bitcoin forks, the variants, seeing them all the time in the dashboard. That's a way to help people avoid this trap, because I think they are responsible for a lot of this. When you open your wallet and you suddenly search for Bitcoin and you see not Bitcoin not being listed on Coinbase, for example, and seeing Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin Gold listed above BTC, basically, that gets normalized, and they say, "Oh, it's cheaper. I'm gonna go buy that one." People have no idea, so they're responsible for that. So we are responsible again for that. That's why we point people to BTC only options. For example, we have It's called Keystone. There's a BTC only option right now, so we're promoting that one. There's Treasure. There's a yeah. You just got one. Hopefully, we'll see a review and a tutorial pretty soon. I still haven't gotten my hands on that, so you're the first one in the team who has it. So we'll get a tutorial pretty soon. So yeah, exchanges and wallets are the easiest one to talk about for this question. If you point people to a shitcoin casino, they will get seduced by the Dogecoins and all the meme coins and all these notifications and stuff like that. Just like I did, just like most of us did, okay? And
Yes,
so you
most
don't
of
want
us.
to send people to Binance, where Binance keeps spamming you all the time with, oh, you've got this new coin, this meme coin, this whatever, and get this bonus if you buy that coin, if you convert. It's very easy. I had Bitcoin in my Binance, and it was very easy to just swap it for just some other shitcoin, basically. And that ends up being nefarious. But that's where they get the most money from. So they promote that, obviously. Coinbase does that. All the big exchanges do that. It's not just Binance. So it's good to point people to Bitcoin-only exchanges, even though sometimes they might have a bigger, might take a bigger cut because they don't do anything else. They don't have the shitcoin casino. So basically, their single point of income is that Bitcoin purchase that you're gonna make. So the percentages might not be that good sometimes, but it's worth pointing people there because they get locked in basically to a Bitcoin only thing. When people ask me, I tell them, okay, use Relay, for example, for Europe. And they ask me, can I buy Ethereum on that? I'm saying, no, you can't. It's a Bitcoin only exchange. You're locked into that. If you want to buy Ethereum, go buy it somewhere else. It's fine. There are 1,000 other places. So it's the same thing with wallets. It's the same thing with what we are promoting as a service or as a product. Obviously, with the wallets, it's a very big issue with what kind of security it will have. One of the favorites is Cold Card, obviously, but we also like Jade a lot because it's open source. It's a cypherpunk tool. It's very cheap. You can basically gift it away and don't care to your friends and loved ones. If they use it, fine. If they don't use it, who cares? If you use the code Love is Bitcoin, you get 10% off or at least a discount on most of these wallets or purchases or whatever. And we're trying to normalize this of using the Bitcoin only tools, or at least the companies that have a Bitcoin only option, like Trezor, for example. I personally use Trezor, and I have the Bitcoin only firmware installed on it. So it doesn't, it's less of an attack surface. And also there's not enough of the shitcoin spam basically, and my dashboard is nice and clean, and I just see my Bitcoin wallets and I transact every day.
Yes, Coinbase uses a very effective technique where you get awarded other coins, altcoins or shitcoins, based on doing questionnaires. So it's like free money. So it's a very seductive way to like get caught on to other coins. But I also think like there's a transition, unless you're extremely smart, you need to go through a halving to really become a true Bitcoiner. Because until a halving happens, you like there's like some maturing that has to go take place before you become a full-on Bitcoiner. So I feel like if you're in your journey and you're still playing in the casino, that don't feel bad about yourself. Just know that you're getting every day closer to being a Bitcoiner, because eventually you will realize why the maximalists are so aggressive with their principles, and in the end they're trying to protect people from being scammed.
Yes, there's a nice
I lost you there. Are you there?
um
I lost
there's
you
not,
there for a moment. Could you tell
okay,
me that again?
okay, it's not record. Please record. Okay. I'll just repeat the
Yeah,
what I
if
was
you
saying.
want to just repeat what you were saying.
Nice. Okay. There's a nice graphic by BTC Therapist which is the path to Bitcoin maximalism. I've added it to one of our articles, and it basically showing in a nice meme format this path that we all take. What we learn about Bitcoin, then we end up learning about shitcoins and stuff like that. And then once you learn more and more and more, you end up abandoning all these things and become a Bitcoin maximalist. And
Yeah.
it's also very funny because every time there's some person on Twitter or something like that who says, I'm a former Bitcoin maxi. Okay. And we all go underneath and comment, there are no former Bitcoin maxis. You weren't the Bitcoin maxi. There's no way you're coming back from that. There is another way, which is very bad. You basically go all the way through and you end up getting Bitcoin derangement syndrome, which is a whole different thing. You're trying to fix Bitcoin. Bitcoin is this immovable object and it drives you crazy. It shatters your ego. It completely demolishes it. And we've seen these things with OGs, with people who have tried to fix Bitcoin, and they have gone all the way through to the other end, and they've gone crazy, basically, effectively. But that's not it. That's not it. If a person says, "Oh, I'm an ex-Bitcoin maxi" or whatever, you were never a Bitcoin maxi. You've never studied like the 100 hours, the prerequisite 100 hours that you need to learn to grasp Bitcoin, to basically scratch the surface, okay, obviously. But that's where it clicks. That's when it clicks, at about 100 hours of study. And the problem is that people won't do those, they won't invest those 100 hours of study. And people are lazy, people are busy, okay, that's a more realistic answer. And people don't see the need for it. That's the main problem that we have. People don't know that the money is broken. So something very extreme has to happen, like hyperinflation in their country. In Argentina, we need to have these the problems like in Greece, in Cyprus, where the cut off whatever was over 100,000 euros. They just confiscated everything. And people's livelihoods were basically devastated because that we need to have these extreme events for people to understand that there's something really wrong with the monetary system. And I think we're not there yet, unfortunately. But like I said, need or greed. Need is the path that I just talked about. Greed is just, okay, I want to make money. I'm going to get rich with crypto. And hopefully along the way, they will end up on some Love is Bitcoin channel, like one of the social media channels that we have, some video that we have or some post, and they will start following it and getting this we could call it like honorable propaganda of showing you the right way and ending up to the path of Bitcoin only, basically.
Yeah. Yes, there definitely is a journey. And I mean, it's terrible to say that we are waiting for those bad fiat moments to happen for the adoption to be understood. But really, I mean, we're not hoping, we're more so preparing for, like preparing people for when that happens to have an alternative.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's like having a fire extinguisher. You don't hope for a fire to happen. You have a fire extinguisher because a fire is statistically going to happen, especially in a household with multiple fire sources and people who are untrained and stuff like that. Or they might just happen due to faulty equipment and stuff like that. It
Or
doesn't
because
mean
people intentionally start the fires.
well, yes, but we're not intentionally trying to start the fire. We just know that it's going to happen eventually. So here's the tool. Here's the right tool that you need. You don't need some other thing. You need this specific thing. You need Bitcoin, for example, this way. You need this thing. Right? I'm pointing that right there. You need, it is the fire extinguisher. It is the escape hatch. There are so many metaphors because Bitcoin is a digital entity, basically, and we're blind to the digital space. So, like Gigi said, with blind people trying to explain what an elephant is, one says, "Oh, it's a rope." One says, "Oh, it's a wall." One says, "Oh, it's a column," and some stuff like that. We can't explain it. We don't have eyes that look into the digital realm, so we can only approximate it and translate it towards to what we understand. So that's why we say Bitcoin is gold. Oh, okay, but now it's not gold. Okay, Bitcoin is stored energy, like Michael Saylor says. Okay, yeah, but not exactly. It's not digital energy stored. Bitcoin is a medium of exchange. Yeah, but not exactly, because it also does that. Bitcoin is a method to secure the ultimate truth, or I don't know, whatever. Yes, but not exactly. And then GZ says Bitcoin is time, because Bitcoin is basically a ticking clock that resonates with the entire protocol around the world. So it's all these things and none of these things, and that's how we can approximate it basically with our limited minds and senses. That's why it's so weird to explain it to people and teach it.
Mhm. When I was saying the starting fires, what I was referring to is the money is not broken. The money works as intended. It's just the intended way is a way where it's a time theft, and it's like
Yes.
not helpful for like lower middle income people. It mostly benefits the very, very
Yes.
rich people, the like high elites. So it works just as intended.
Yes. Just as intended to steal your
To steal
time and
your
your effort
time.
and your life's work, basically. Yes,
Yes,
and
exactly.
you end up having basically our fathers, our parents, and grandparents, and they tell you, when I was your age, I was working, and I went to college, I went to the university, and all I paid for everything myself, and I bought a house, and I had a whole family. And what are you doing, you lazy millennial? You're lazy and you're not doing anything. No, and you feel bad because you're a lazy millennial. And where at the same time you might work 2 or 3 jobs. You might have a gig economy like doing Uber and the stuff like that, or being on Fiverr. You have like 15 skills. You know 2 or 3 languages. You know computers. All these skills, and they're the older generation, the boomers, basically they're comparing you and they're telling you, oh, you're lazy. You're not lazy, you're being robbed of your time, and you don't know it. It's the slowly boiling frog, basically. You don't know it until something completely breaks and crashes in some country where the monetary system crashes. It is working as intended. Yes, the point is the cantillionaire effect. The 1% is getting richer. All these handouts, the bailouts, all these things that are happening, they're not uh, affecting the average person. It only puts them deeper in the hole. And every day you get blasted by this malicious propaganda, basically, which is advertising, where you feel like you need to get a better car, you need to be better looking, you need to have a hotter wife, your wife needs to have implants, your wife needs to have like lip fillers or whatever, and you need to pay for these things and pay for these things. It's all these consumer products that we get spammed with, basically, which are useless and very high time preference. And people think that you're successful in life when you have the Lambo, when you have the expensive house, when you have like beach houses everywhere. Whereas I see Bitcoiners being very, very rich, having friends around the world, meeting in conferences. We just had the Santorini halving party, and some people were hanging out and they knew each other beforehand. And their discussion was, "Oh yeah, remember what we did? I don't know, somewhere else. We did this in America. We did this in Africa. You remember Nostrica, that we weren't there, and this happened." This is a sort of freedom. This is a sort of wealth, basically, that you can't get when you're stuck in the fiat system, because it's a form of slavery. When you have a lot of things, you're also bound by them. But with Bitcoin, a lot of people are seeing this level of freedom and this truly open nature of the protocol. It flows into their personal lives. Like this mindset basically starts to shape their own lives. And they want less stuff and more freedom. And they want to carry their own Bitcoin with them. And you know what? If the laws in their home country are not very good towards Bitcoin and what they perceive as having freedom and having human rights, they just move away. They vote with their feet, and they can just move away. and go somewhere else. Obviously, right now we have El Salvador as the promised land. I don't think it is exactly as advertised because okay, it's far too early to decide, but it's good that it's happening. We'll see more and more places doing that, basically using the El Salvador playbook of attracting Bitcoiners and giving them 0% or at least a very small tax so that they bring their businesses and move their like their legal entities and all these things. We'll see this happening more and more. People, instead of countries trying to lock you in because up until 20 years ago they could just take advantage of you, you couldn't move, your business couldn't move, basically. Now with the age of the internet, we are decentralized, we are remote, we're working remotely. Right now, you and me, for example, we're working remotely in different continents across the Atlantic, and we can still work and transact and do business together. So there's nothing really limiting us. And the countries don't understand this yet. They think we're stuck. They think that we have the brick and mortar business. We don't have a brick and mortar business. We have brands, we have intellectual property, we have audiences, and we can move these things wherever we want. And you see a lot of people doing just that. They're saying, "Oh, this country is better for Bitcoin or whatever. I'm gonna move there. I'm gonna put my business, start my business there. Just get an office, get a small office." And it's still gonna keep rolling. And they don't understand that they have to attract the high net worth individuals, which are the Bitcoiners of the future. And even if we're not that wealthy, we are the most mobile ones. And El Salvador understands that. You don't have to be wealthy to go to El Salvador right now, but they do want these Bitcoiners flocking there, basically. We're seeing that that they're doing a very systematic, if I say propaganda, it sounds bad. Let's call it marketing. It's the same thing. They're doing a very systematic marketing effort of attracting Bitcoiners to El Salvador.
Yeah, and even though like there is some controversy around what has happened with the criminal bans there, you can't deny the fact that, to change, I'm Colombian, so I understand like the culture of easy money and like where it's not true heroism or true morals that are held up by people. It's like street smarts and who can get away with the most, the quickest is really what's cherished and valued amongst the population. So in El Salvador, you can't just remove some people and expect things to change. Like the whole culture and the whole community, their mindset is changing with this like Bitcoin evolution.
I think that's part of the marketing effort. I don't think the impact is that big, like, or the impact of Bitcoin. I think Bukele is brilliant, and he's using Bitcoin as the tool that's going to bring prosperity and stuff like that to sell it both inwards and outwards. He has managed to bring back home a ton of people, a ton of expats from the US, and basically bring back the actual workforce, right? Because they were bleeding out the workforce. But of course, I'm not an expert. Okay, I've never even been there. It's from what I read, so this is just my opinion, and I have no idea what is actually happening there.
What I was talking more about is that when you live in a country like how El Salvador used to be or Colombia, you live in some degree, you live in fear, always looking over your shoulder and all this. And as like the community becomes less in fear, I think also their morals and their values evolve because they realize that it wasn't enjoyable to live in fear.
Yeah.
And so they begin to appreciate like upholding certain efforts rather than like the smartest, like the smart who can do like the street smart the best.
Yeah. Well, would call that survival mode, and it's understandable. We all devolve into beasts when we were into survival mode. You've seen that in every single culture, in every single disaster. People do go into survival mode, and that's an extreme of high time preference, basically. You can talk about low time preference and high time preference. you can be inside the normal society and being in a polite society, but still being high time preference. We see that in most developed countries and most wealthy countries. Greece is a very high time preference way of life, like this whole society. People gamble, people live for the moment, they don't really care about tomorrow. You see them wasting a lot of stuff and bouzoukia, and having fun. Um, you see that a lot. And well, an extreme of high time preference is survival mode, which is what you're describing, I am assuming, because I've never lived through it, in
Yeah.
Colombia and El Salvador. And it makes sense. When someone is drowning, you can't talk to them about the future. They need to live through the day. They need to live through tomorrow, through the week. So it's understandable. You are stressed. You have literal stress in your body. Okay, this is killing you, and you have an adrenaline spike, and you are in survival mode because your body needs to have, like, at peak moments, so that you survive. Basically, it won't let you go down to a calm state, to a relaxed state, because you need to survive this. This is an evolutionary tool, but you can't go through this for too long, for long periods of time. I think it's literally killing you. The stress is killing you, and you don't understand it. If you've lived through this, you don't understand that this is not the way to live. Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, because what people do is that they release their stress by bending to the biggest threat. So they stop being like at risk by catering to the social norm, which when it's violent, it means catering to that violence. So I think like when you remove that threat and that stress from people's environment, they have the opportunity to begin to appreciate different ways of life. So
Yeah.
I do think it will bring about like a change of in culture and like thought process amongst the population.
I hope so. I hope so. If it changes like people's lives that profoundly, it will be a success. It will be a massive success. I really hope that.
Yes, hopefully, because that would be hope. That would be hope for Colombia.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so Dani, let me flip the script a bit on you, since we mentioned that you're from Colombia. Let's talk a little bit about you. Okay, I'm the guest, but this is the first interview that we're doing. And because all the other episodes on Heartbeat were tutorials or discussions, and basically we're talking to an audience. So let's talk a little bit about you. Okay, I know a little bit about you. We've been working for a few months together, but I do want people to get to know you. I know you're a bit okay.
Right.
Let's call it shy. Okay, it's you don't want to really talk about yourself that much. So tell us what you're okay with people knowing about you. Okay, you're from Colombia. What else? Tell us about that.
Well, I also studied computer science. I started getting into Bitcoin in 2017. I was one of those who took the long way around to become a Bitcoin maximalist.
Took me
But
9 years. Don't worry. It took me 9 years. It's fine.
yes, it takes a minute to really understand because when you first start in Bitcoin, I also went through the I can fix Bitcoin phase. And like I really do appreciate the maxi position now. However, like I think that valuable things should be able to stand to questioning. And so I get a little frustrated when questions are met with dismissal instead of explanations. So I'm very motivated. Like here in the podcast, all those scary questions that you are not allowed to make to Bitcoin maximalists are welcome because if Bitcoin is really as powerful as we believe it is, then we shouldn't shy away from those difficult questions and we should be open to discussing them and to like confronting the potential risks of being involved in Bitcoin. Like I'm a full like Bitcoiner. I'm very passionate about the process, but I also think like people should be aware of the risks and because you know why? Bitcoin is made by people and being aware of the risks makes us stronger. So like being hush hush about like things that have to change or things that might not be ideal is really, I think, counterproductive to the Bitcoin objective, which is to become a global currency.
Nice. Well, you're thinking like an engineer. During our Athens Bit Devs, we commonly talk about these things. We were just discussing how Bitcoin Core, for example, is having a downtrend in more PRs and merges, what you call them, and all
Office
these
classification.
discussions. Yeah, there's a slight downward trend. There's someone doing a survey on that, so that's bad because we need more people working on Bitcoin Core. Thankfully, now with the Craig Wright trial and basically his dismissal of his claim of being Satoshi Nakamoto, a very old Bitcoin Core developer, I don't remember his name, he decided to come back. He blogged that maybe I'll come back to Bitcoin. Whereas right now, people were very scared of becoming public Bitcoin Core developers because of getting sued by Craig Wright. He threatened them left and right. He literally said, I'm going to destroy their lives. I'm going to destroy their families. He literally said those things in video. So that was one person, okay, a rich person, a crazy person, but it was just one person. Imagine if there's a concerted effort of destroying Bitcoin Core and the developers from some three-letter agency, so from some central bank, from something like that. Imagine someone with some serious firepower, you could call it metaphorical or literal firepower. That could be scary. That could be scary. And we need to discuss these things because Bitcoin is not anti-fragile completely, like 100%. It can be taken over, and there are threats to it still. And yes, as an engineer, it's a good thing that you want to ask these questions. And yes, dogma is not good. This
Yes.
dogmatic faith of, okay, yeah, it's perfect and nothing will break it. No, no. There are many, many threats that still need to be maintained. That was, for example, Luke Dash's argument versus ordinals, for example. I was kind of leaning towards, okay, let's leave it open, let the kids play. If people can spam it, they're okay to spam it. And Luke Dash answered me on some question that I had, and he basically said, Bitcoin is protected, but it's protected by us. So it's a sort of an active defense. It's a very anti-fragile, but we are the immune system, the developers, the users, and the node runners, and all these people. So yeah, okay, it's not going to break just because some people decided to play with wizards and ordinals and stuff like that, or runes or whatever. It's not going to break, but we still have to defend it. We still have to do some actions and try and point it towards the right way and protect it against some malicious attacks, basically. Whether it's a malicious attack or not, that's open to discussion. It's a whole different thing. But yes, the technical people are have to ask these questions, basically, like you said. So yeah, tell me, what fascinates you in Bitcoin, Dani? What fascinates you most?
I've always been kind of dreamy and have this like great hope for the world to change a little bit. Um, I mean, so, and I think that in Bitcoin there is some hope because um, politics nowadays has a lot of power and it has taken the power away from the people. And it has done so in different ways. And so I've always had very little trust in politics. So I'm very passionate about Bitcoin because I think it's the hope for the people to regain some of that power.
Nice,
That's really
nice.
my driving force. You know,
Okay.
this room looks like I got granted a bunch of presents from sponsors, but the truth is that I have been collecting Bitcoin stuff for the last 7 or 8 years because during 8 years, I have been dreaming about this moment of being in a podcast. I didn't really know if I was ever going to be the host, but I did have a dream about like being a Bitcoin educator because it's like in my spirit, one of the things that makes me feel good about myself is serving information, like being useful, makes me feel really fulfilled in life.
Nice.
So since Bitcoin is the closest thing that I find to like the hope of returning the power to the people, and it makes me like feel a little bit hopeful towards where society is going, and combining that with my desire to inform and educate, then doing this podcast really has made my motivations come together, and it really brings me a lot of joy. I do this because not for the views. I do it because the actual experience of writing the articles or writing the scripts or doing the research or figuring a way to teach somebody is what I get the true pleasure from.
Nice. And it shows. Trust me, it shows. And people are appreciating it. I see it myself, but it shows with the joy with which you make these videos, basically. And I want to say something. This is a bit behind the scenes. It was very funny. When we started working on the podcast, Dani told me, yeah, okay, I have some Bitcoin stuff. And yeah, I'm a filmmaker, so okay, I have a camera, I have everything set up. And I'm like, okay, we can work with that. We can make a studio at some point. It's as I said, it's remote, so we have to figure out everything. And as soon as we got a test shot, I get boom, exactly what you see right now. This whole studio set up with a ton of stuff. The only thing, literally the only thing that wasn't in there was the bubblegum pink grenade from Crypto Clone, which came as a present later. Like everything was there. And it was so funny because I saw it and it was like, boom, oh, okay, we have immediately we have a Bitcoin studio, we have a huge Bitcoiner here willing to talk about all these things. Yes. So we obviously Dani likes her toys, her merch, her gifts. Is that something that you enjoy, like getting a present and something like that, Dani?
Definitely, but I do have to say that there is some criteria to what we're willing to do, what I'm willing to do, in the sense that like you should never trust what anybody tells you, including me. So it's like a trust but verify process. So I try to use my better judgment to like share with the audience the products that I think will like help their journey towards self-sovereignty, towards self-hosting, towards privacy and autonomy. So like I try to use my best judgment towards like what I pick to share with the audience, but like we all make mistakes. So it's very important that even like when you're taking advice from me or any other person or influencer or podcaster, that you like exercise your own judgment to what this person is sharing with you and do some research on the products, because you know people make mistakes, or maybe in the future it can be revealed that people were doing other activities under the table that maybe the person who was sharing that information with you was not aware of. So like for me, what is really important is to like teach people to learn themselves, not depend on us to guide, to take them by the hand, but rather we teach them how to make their own decisions by showing them self-custody, by teaching them like the difference between being on an exchange or having your own keys, like by teaching them strong fundamentals, then they can make their own choices further on.
Perfect, perfect. That's exactly what I try to do with my students at the Bitcoin workshops. And I think that's why we work so well together, because that resonates in both of us. Like, think for yourself. Okay, I'm going to tell you my opinion. Maybe try this, maybe try that, but think for yourself. If this is too convoluted, for example, try a simpler solution. Okay, but think for yourself and make your own decision. It's your money, it's your life. We're not going to handle it for you. And that's what self-custody is about. And that's what Bitcoin is about, like teaching you this self-reliance thing.
Yeah.
And it makes you a better individual, I think. Okay, nice.
Yeah. I mean, I like to think that in this podcast it's really about education instead of influencing, because I don't want to influence anybody to do anything. I want to educate people on their different possibilities and let people make choices. And like as a developer, I want to talk about like the actual technology, not so much like influence people to go in one direction or the other, but to actually get to the core of what this technology is, what opportunities it really offers, where are the risks, what do we need to watch out for, and like how to use it to how to take advantage of the opportunities that it has of privacy and custody. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's becoming harder and harder. I'm a node runner. I've been running a node for like 3 years now, on and off. Okay, I've tried different implementation, stuff like that. And now for like a whole year, we've been running the Athens Bit Devs. And because I'm a curious person, even though I'm a computer scientist, I'm not very deep into technical stuff, but I can understand them because I have the background, especially when we talk about them. And it's so hard to keep up with everything. Like we have covenants right now, we have ordinals, we have rooms, we have op vault, for example, we were discussing last time. We have Nostr stuff, we have lightning stuff, we have BitVM. We cannot cover, we have a bit devs pretty much every month, and we cannot cover just the surface. We can't even scratch the surface of what is happening in Bitcoin. And that's really hard to keep up with. And the problem with Bitcoin is that it requires individuals who are educated basically in the matters of Bitcoin. Okay. So you have to make an educated decision. Are you going to run Taproot, for example? Okay, now we're running it, but there was a decision to be made back then. We had to upgrade our nodes. I decided for it because I read a couple of articles and I understood that it will open up Schnorr signatures, and this will open up like more anonymity and better code and better footprint on the blockchain. So I decided to run that upgrade basically. But there are other things like what was it called? USAF, SegWit times two, basically, which we didn't know which one was right because it was an actual block size war. It was a civil war, you could call it. And people that you trusted, like influencers and people that you might have appreciated back then. I wasn't around Bitcoin back then. I'm just saying as an extreme example. That might happen again, and you won't know who to trust and who to listen to. So you will need that sort of you will need that sort of background and understanding to be able to make a decision, and it's only going to get more and more complicated.
Yeah.
From this point on, moving forward.
Yeah.
So education is very important. I appreciate what you're doing, Dani, with your tutorials. I've followed every single one. I've helped a little bit with scripts and stuff like that, but it's only minimal. Pretty much, it's all Dani. I can't take any claim to them. And so, okay, tell us a little bit of what you're imagining for Heartbeat, because I know a little bit, but
Okay.
tell the people as well what they can expect like in the future.
Well, I'm glad you asked that question because that's exactly what I was thinking about. Because like right now we're doing like covering the fundamentals. That way we have a place that we can refer people if they have questions, because pretty soon we're going to be moving on to more advanced subjects. And so for me, it's important to be able to like go like sequentially. And the especially the gadgets and the technical series are kind of like a curriculum. That way, as we get deeper into the curriculum, then people can refer back to the prior episodes to figure out like what the fundamentals are. I mean, I'm really looking forward as a developer. It's been like a huge struggle to learn because I don't know if it's just engineering, but they like to make you discover how to do things on your own. So there's not many opportunities where someone will come and will teach you like step by step how to do things or why they work a certain way or where to find the information or how everything is connected. They just like throw you in the deep end of the pool and expect you to figure out how to swim out. And for me, well, that has been like really challenging. And so part of my process is to help developers get into Bitcoin and understand Bitcoin programming with some sort of company and help and support along the way. So once we're done with the episodes that are more for like newcomers or pre-coiners, or even people who are into Bitcoin but don't totally like understand the technology yet, because there are a lot of nuances to how the technology works. Like on the surface, yeah, Bitcoin is really easy. You have a wallet, you send and receive money, like that's it. But under the covers, it's very complex, and there are lots of nuances. So the idea is to like be unraveling this mystery one little piece of string at a time.
Nice, nice. There's so much stuff to cover, so hopefully we'll have material for plenty of seasons, and basically keep on doing this for as much as it is enjoyable. That's the important thing.
Definitely.
Okay, well, I can't wait to see what you have in store, because it's also a surprise for me, even though I am part of the pre-production. Every time it's a surprise of the quality that you're pushing out, the how delicate and descriptive the explanations are, how simple, and we add some graphics to some of them to help explain it even better. The gadgets are also always used as an excuse basically to discuss about Bitcoin, like for example the BIP39 words, the conversion of the keys to the dots, like you did for the metal storage. So it's not just showing off a product, even though it might be sponsored just to help us out and keep doing this. It's more about, oh, you know what, this is a product, okay, this is a good solution for this thing. Understand why you need this and how this product fixes that problem and why you need it for Bitcoin. Because essentially, you basically need an open source wallet and you can use Bitcoin, and that's it. But once you start getting into more advanced concepts like inheritance or security and stuff like that, you will need some tools, and there are some tools out there with different implementations that you can figure out. And right now I'm taking the lazy approach. I've kind of stopped playing with the gadgets because I'm a tinkerer myself, and I'm gonna send them to Dani, and you will tell us. For example, something like nunchuck and multi-sig and stuff like that. I should have figured it out. So I'm probably just gonna let you do it for me and explain it for me in a cool episode.
Definitely. We're definitely going to be going into nunchuck in the future. I mean, to me, this podcast experience has been a really important learning experience, because I used to understand a lot of concepts generically, but I feel a huge responsibility to like offer accuracy and detail when I am presenting the podcast. So it's been a great learning experience for me, because it's forced me to like step away from those generic understandings and get into like the specific and very detailed understanding of the actual subject. And that's how I intend to approach all the technical and gadget episodes. So like we're gonna continue to research and continue to like analyze the technologies that we present in detail, and not just like bring you like which wallet from some unknown creator. We're going to be thorough in our research and like understand the underlying nuances of the different tools that we present. So you can definitely rely on me to give you all the all the rundown of all the products.
Yes, but at the same time, like we said, you need to do your own thinking. Okay, just because we tell it in this podcast and Dani has done the research, you should think for yourself and figure it out for yourself and see what solution is best for you.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that some YouTuber or influencer says so. It doesn't mean that it's right. We like to say don't trust, verify, and that goes into many, many, many aspects of being a Bitcoiner, like in both money, in code, in suggestions and into pretty much everything. It's counterintuitive what we're doing because we keep saying, oh yeah, trust us on this, but also don't trust us. And I know that's the problem with talking to Bitcoiners, but it works out in the end.
Yeah, because in the end, what we really are talking about is I'm going to provide you with some tools to make decisions on your own. That's really what we're trying to convey, I think.
Nice,
Well,
nice.
George, thank you for joining us on the podcast. It was a pleasure talking to you and learning more about Love is Bitcoin. And we should get a t-shirt that says we are all Libby.
We're gonna get one. I think it's in the pipeline. Yeah.
Yeah. Get us
Nice.
all in the Bitcoin adoption boat.
Nice. And of course, I think it's great having a little teaser of who is Dani for the audience because you don't talk much about yourself. So I think this will be nice so that people will get to know you and keep on watching your tutorials and your episodes.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity to share a little bit about myself. I ultimately I'm just a mom who lives with 2 horses, 2 dogs, and 2 cows in the forest.
See, that is very interesting. 2 horses, 2 cows, and what else?
2 dogs.
2 dogs. Okay, nice. Any chickens? Any something like that?
Yes, we have some chickens
And some chickens as well. Okay, that's interesting.
with the family of animals.
Sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful. And trust me, a lot of Bitcoiners are gonna say, "Oh, okay, this is something that I want." What we were saying before, it has shifted our goals completely. So yeah, I think you're already there.
Well, it's thanks to Bitcoin that I developed some appreciation for the low time preference and became more strict about like how to source my food.
I see. I see. I see an upcoming episode actually. Okay, nice. Thank you, Dani.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. We'll see you soon.
Okay.